What karma hit? Someone right after their "this will be easy" plan went OMG wrong. Story 1. My coworker Dan was that guy who says, "this will be easy," like it's punctuation. He'd been quietly telling anyone who listened that our department head, Lila, was coasting and couldn't even do basic spreadsheets. He wanted her job. One Monday, the CEO announced a surprise audit for Friday. Lila was out sick, so Dan practically vibrated with joy. "Perfect," he said, clapping his hands. "I'll handle her portfolio. They'll finally see who's carrying this place." He asked IT to give him access to her files, so we don't miss deadlines. His plan was obvious to anyone with eyes. Cherry-pick her unfinished drafts, show them as failures, then swoop in with finished versions he'd slapped together. He literally winked at me when he said, "I'll clean up her mess. This will be easy." By Tuesday, he was bragging that he'd found errors everywhere. By Wednesday, he'd stayed late fixing things and sent the CEO a smug email about risk mitigation. Thursday morning, he strutted in wearing a suit, like it was already his promotion party. Friday, audit meeting. Dan launches his PowerPoint labeled Lila's Work, Issues and Corrections. Except the first slide doesn't load. IT guy squints. That file moved. Turns out, Lila runs her own system. Every time someone opens her folder, it auto-logs a timestamp and user ID because she's been burned before. Also turns out she wasn't sick. She'd had emergency surgery and still managed to remote in and watch Dan rummage through her stuff in real time. She walks into the meeting mid-Dan's speech, pale but calm, holding a printout. Before Dan continues, she says, "Here's a list of every file he accessed, copied, and edited. And here's what they looked like before he changed them." The CEO scrolls, expression going from confusion to ice. Dan tries to laugh. "Oh, that? Just normal collaboration." Lila flips to the last page. Dan had overwritten a compliance doc and deleted the original, which is basically the corporate equivalent of tampering with evidence. Audit got postponed. Dan got escorted out. Lila didn't even raise her voice. She just said, "This wasn't easy, Dan. It was stupid." The kicker? Monday morning, we got an all-staff email. Lila promoted to director and a new policy named after her folder system. Everyone called it the Dan Clause. Story 2. I'm the older sister, so by default, I'm nominated as family diplomat, which is like being asked to juggle knives while people throw more knives. Our cousin Brianna married Trent, a trust fund golden retriever of a man. Nice enough, but allergic to consequences. They posted their life nonstop. Vacations, matching outfits, even their fights. When they announced a huge DIY backyard wedding on social, Trent said on camera, "Why pay planners? This will be easy." He decided to save money by dropping 3 vendors last minute: caterer, bartender, and rental company. Plan: potluck style. "Everyone loves to contribute," he said. "We'll just tell guests to bring a dish and their own booze." Brianna looked uneasy, but he steamrolled. Wedding day arrived, and it was chaos by noon. Guests showed up sweaty with crock pots and confused faces. Half the dishes were dessert. Someone brought raw chicken in a cooler and asked where the oven was. The bar was a folding table with 2 bottles of vodka and a pitcher of warm Sprite. Then the speeches. Trent's best man, already hammered, pulled out his phone. "I'm going to read the group chat, it's hilarious. And because this family is cursed," nobody stopped him. He started, "Trent. Bro, I'm only marrying her because her dad promised the lake house." Nervous laughter. Trent. "Also, Bree doesn't know about Sophia. Keep it quiet till after the wedding." Silence. Brianna went still in that terrifying way where you stop being human and become weather. Trent tried to snatch the phone, screaming, "Joke! Joke!" But the best man kept going, because drunk plus a mic equals war crime. He read more. Talk about Bree's weight, about locking down the inheritance, about how this will be easy once she's pregnant. Brianna didn't cry. She took her bouquet, walked to the potluck table, and calmly dumped it into the raw chicken cooler. Then she turned to the crowd and said, "Thanks for coming. Take your food home. Wedding's over." Her dad, the guy with the lake house, left without a word. The next day, he posted one single photo on Facebook. Brianna on a boat with the caption, "My daughter's honeymoon. No plus ones." Trent tried to spin it online, but every relative had already downloaded the best man's livestream and reposted it with captions like, "Karma speedrun." He said it'd be easy. It was, just not for him. Brianna filed annulment Monday. The lake house went into a trust in her name Tuesday. Story 3. I'm 16, and my parents' divorce has been a 2-year soap opera with worse lighting. Dad's girlfriend, Marcy, joined about 6 months in. She's the kind of adult who thinks teenagers are NPCs, Mom has primary custody and dad gets weekends. Marcy hated that. She kept saying mom was manipulative and dad should take control. Last month, she told me, in front of dad, "We're going to court for full custody. Don't worry, this will be easy. Judges love stable homes." Stable home meaning her place, with a white couch nobody's allowed to sit on and a live, laugh, love sign glaring at you like a threat. Their plan was to prove mom was unstable. They collected screenshots of mom snapping at me because, hello, I'm a teen. And they hired a private investigator to catch her doing something, I guess. They even told dad's lawyer I was alienated and needed rescue. Court day. I wasn't supposed to talk. I was supposed to look sad and nod. Except the judge asked if I wanted to speak. Marcy squeezed dad's arm like, "Yes, showtime." Dad smiled. "Go ahead, kiddo." So I said the truth. I told the judge that mom works 2 jobs, still makes dinner, still shows up. That she yells sometimes because life is noise. I told him dad forgets my therapy appointments, and Marcy calls my anxiety attention-seeking. Marcy's face started doing that buffering thing. Dad looked terrified. I kept going. I said they'd been telling me to make a list of mom's mistakes, and it made me feel like a spy. I said Marcy once told me if I moved in full-time, she'd finally have a real family. Judge asked, "Do you have evidence of that?" I pulled out my phone. I'd recorded her. Not because I'm a genius, because I didn't trust her. She'd said it during one of her pep talks about court. We played it. In the courtroom. Her voice crisp as ice. "This will be easy. Just say your mom scares you. We'll win." The judge didn't even sigh. He just looked at dad and said, "So the child has been coached." Marcy started crying. Dad tried to explain. The judge shut it down. Custody stayed with mom. Dad's weekends got reduced for therapeutic repair, and the judge ordered dad to take a co-parenting class without Marcy present. Outside, dad tried to apologize, but I was done. The twist part? When we got home, mom had baked my favorite cake and didn't ask for details. She just hugged me and said, "You don't ever have to perform in adult battles again." Marcy wanted a real family. Karma gave her a real lesson instead. Story 4. I used to manage a small boutique gym. The owner, Carla, was obsessed with exposure. When a local influencer named Jet joined, she basically adopted him like a show pony. Jet was handsome, loud, and irresponsible in a way people mistake for confidence. He told Carla he could blow up the gym's brand overnight. His idea: a viral charity challenge live-streamed from our place. "Easy content," he said. "We'll raise money, gain followers, everybody wins." The charity was real. The coordination was not. He posted the event before getting permits, before checking our insurance, before even confirming with the charity. He wanted 200 people to show up and do a high-intensity endurance gauntlet in our parking lot. Carla hesitated. Jet said, "Relax. This will be easy. I've done collabs." Event day arrives and it's a circus. People overflowed onto the street with weights, jump ropes, speakers. Someone parked on a neighbor's driveway. Another guy brought a drone that clipped a tree and crashed into our sign. Halfway through the live stream, Jet decides to spice it up. "Let's do a fire run," meaning sprint through a line of little tiki torches he'd set up because it looks sick on camera. I told him no. Carla told him no. He did it anyway. He slipped, knocked 2 torches over. They rolled into a stack of cardboard boxes we'd left by the door. Whoosh, instant flame. Everybody screamed. I grabbed the extinguisher. He grabbed his phone and yelled, "Guys, calm down. It's under control," while still live streaming. Fire trucks arrived fast because, shocker, neighbors had already called. They put it out in minutes. No one got hurt. But the firefighters asked for our permit. Carla looked at Jet. Jet looked at the sky. The fire chief walked over to the phone still streaming and said, deadpan, "This event is shut down for safety violations." The clip went viral. Not for charity, for stupidity. People stitched it with the caption, "Fitness influencer invents arson for clout." Then the real karma hit. The charity Jet had named in his promo posted a statement that they weren't affiliated and demanded the donation link be taken down. Turns out Jet had linked his own PayPal. Whether intentional or oops, it looked like fraud. Carla fired him on the spot. The landlord cited us for damages. Our insurance threatened to drop us. Jet tried to spin it as haters sabotaged me. But the live stream showed him lighting the torches, ignoring warnings and saying, "This will be easy," right before eating asphalt. Last I checked, he rebranded as a resilience coach. Comments still say, "Do we sprint through fire or nah?" Story 5. I'm the new girlfriend, so I got front row seats to a breakup I didn't cause but absolutely had to clean up emotionally. My boyfriend Eli's ex-wife, Tara, had cheated and left him 2 years ago. She'd been living her fresh start life and apparently recently decided the divorce settlement wasn't fair. She wanted more money and the house. Eli's lawyer told us she filed for a modification claiming Eli had hidden income. Tara's texts to Eli were smug. "I'll win. This will be easy. You're so transparent it hurts." Her evidence was a spreadsheet of Venmo payments and a screenshot of Eli's Instagram where he'd posted a picture of a new car. She spun it into secret wealth. She also claimed he was earning under-the-table consulting fees. Court date. She breezed in with a binder like she was auditioning for Suits. She whispered to Eli, "Hope you're ready to explain your little cash stash." Judge listened, then asked about Tara's own finances because modifications cut both ways. Her lawyer said it was irrelevant. The judge said, "Not to me." Tara gave a whole speech about being a struggling single mom. Their kid is 12 and spends half time with Eli. She said she could barely afford rent. Then she slid her binder forward dramatically. Eli's lawyer stood and said, "Your Honor, we have concerns about the petitioner's candor." He handed over a flash drive. "We subpoenaed public records and bank statements." Turns out Eli was transparent. He'd bought the car with an inheritance from his late aunt, which is not marital income and was already disclosed in the divorce. The Venmos were for a weekend basketball league. The consulting was volunteer mentoring. But Tara? She'd been making money on the side selling custom art online, using Eli's old studio equipment she never returned. She wasn't just selling a little. She had a whole LLC and had been depositing tens of thousands without reporting it on her financial affidavit. The twist inside the twist. Her Etsy shop was under her maiden name, but her promo photos included their kid modeling products. The judge asked if Eli knew. Eli said no. I saw Tara's face collapse like a bad souffle. Judge didn't yell. He didn't need to. He said, "You brought this action alleging hidden income, while failing to disclose your own." Then he denied her request, ordered her to reimburse Eli's legal fees, and referred her affidavit for review due to possible perjury. On the courthouse steps, she tried to cry to the reporters she'd invited. Yes, really. But they were already reading the judge's order. We got in the car and Eli just sat there shaking. I asked if he was okay. He said, "She really thought this would be easy." I didn't say karma. I just squeezed his hand while the notification pinged on my phone. Tara's shop had gone private, and her single mom hustle post was getting ratioed by strangers asking why she lied in court. Sometimes the universe doesn't clap back loudly. Sometimes it just lets you walk into your own trap holding a binder. Story 6. I'm the friend who always drives because I'm the only one in our group that doesn't treat traffic laws like suggestions. So when my buddy Marco got his first DUI court date, guess who got forced into chauffeur duty? Marco had this cocky streak where he thought rules were just puzzles for him to solve faster than everyone else. He told us, "I'm not losing my license. I'll just tell the judge my mom needs me to drive her to chemo. This will be easy." First off, his mom is fine. Second off, he was telling us this in the same group chat where he'd been sending memes about speedrunning probation. Court morning, he shows up in a borrowed tie, hair slicked back like he's auditioning for a shampoo ad. I'm sitting behind him like moral support furniture. The prosecutor reads his record. The officer describes him trying to argue with a breathalyzer like it was a customer service rep. Then Marco stands up and does his performance. Says he's a caretaker. Says his mother is very ill. Says the family depends on him to drive. Voice all shaky. Big sad eyes. He turns toward the judge like, "Please, sir, I am but a humble son." Judge listens, nods, then says, "Before I rule, I have a few questions. Ms. Alvarez, could you come forward?" Marco turns his head slowly. I swear I heard gears grinding in his skull. Because sitting 3 rows to the left is his mom. Healthy, furious, and wearing her work badge. She's there because she works for the courthouse, specifically in records. And a clerk had casually mentioned her son's case yesterday. She told the judge she wanted to attend. The judge apparently knows her. She walks up and says, "Your Honor, I'm not sick. I'm not in chemo. I don't need rides. And I didn't authorize my son to use me as a lie." Marco starts talking at once. "Mom, I was going to tell you," and his mom cuts him off with that look that erases childhoods. The judge's voice goes cool. "You weren't just driving drunk, Mr. Alvarez. You're attempting to mislead the court using a fabricated medical hardship." He revoked Marco's temporary driving privileges on the spot and added a contempt warning. Biggest gasp I've heard outside a movie theater. Outside, Marco tried to laugh it off like, "Wow, wild coincidence, right?" And his mom said, very softly, "You don't get to borrow my suffering. You earn your consequences." Then she got in her own car and drove away. Story 7. I'm a grad TA for an intro bio course, which is basically babysitting adults who learned confidence before they learned reading comprehension. There was a student, Caden, who made a hobby out of loudly announcing shortcuts. Lab reports are a joke, he'd say. I'll use AI to crank them out. This will be easy. He wasn't subtle. He talked about it in office hours like he was inviting me to a startup pitch. We flagged his first report for weird phrasing and citations to studies that didn't exist. He appealed. Prove it, he said. So the professor gave him a second chance with a warning. Next report comes in. Immaculate formatting, polished language, and, this is key, an acknowledgements section. Nobody in intro bio writes acknowledgements. I open it and nearly choke on my coffee. Caden had copy-pasted the AI output, including the AI's disclaimer. It said, basically, as an artificial intelligence, I can't access your specific lab data, so here's a general template, right above his name. Like, he'd turned in a paper that was a neon sign saying, I cheated, and he didn't even read it. Professor calls him in for a misconduct hearing. He struts in with that smirk that only exists on people who've never been wrong in public. This is a misunderstanding, he says. This system is biased against smart students. This will be easy to clear up. We ask him to walk us through his raw data. He opens his laptop. His folder is empty. He says the data got deleted. Professor nods. Okay, let's use the backup on the lab server. Caden freezes because he didn't know the lab instruments auto-upload every run with a timestamp. We pull his log. He never ran the experiment. Not once. Worse, the server shows that last Tuesday, someone logged in under his ID and downloaded another student's data file. He tries a new tactic. I was just looking for examples. Professor shrugs. Examples don't require downloading at 2:13 a.m. The hearing ends quickly. Automatic fail for the course, referral to the Academic Integrity Board, and his scholarship gets suspended pending review. Here's the karma punch. Caden's mom worked at the university. She wasn't in our department, but word travels fast when scholarships are involved. She showed up the next day, eyes red, and asked to speak to the professor. I was walking past when I heard her say, he told me he was finally taking this seriously, that it was easy this semester. Professor didn't gloat or lecture. He just said, easy is expensive when it's dishonest. Caden never came back. His seat stayed empty the rest of the term like a warning label. Story 8. I live in a neighborhood where the HOA is basically a mini dictatorship run by retirees who treat lawn height like national security. I keep my head down, pay dues, and mind my business. Our HOA president, Linda, did not. She decided my next-door neighbor, Omar, was lowering property values because he had a vegetable garden out front. Not messy, just tomatoes. She hated it. One evening, I overheard her on the sidewalk telling another board member, we'll fine him until he gives up and sells. This will be easy. People fold when money's involved. Next week, Omar gets a violation letter. Unapproved landscaping. Then another. Then a fine. Linda started adding random stuff. Improper trellis color. Non-conforming mulch. It was cartoonish. Omar is quiet, doesn't argue, just keeps gardening. Linda takes that as weakness and escalates to a lien threat. She even bragged at the monthly meeting. We're about to clean up that eyesore. What she didn't know. Omar's day job is land surveying. The man literally measures the earth for a living. So he shows up to the next meeting with a rolled-up map, a laptop, and that polite smile that means he's about to detonate someone's ego. He says, before you place a lien, I need the board to see something. He projects a plat from the county. Then a fresh survey he did using HOA records. Then aerial history shots. Long story short, the HOA fence line has been wrong for 17 years. The strip of land Linda was declaring common area and using to justify garden rules is actually Omar's property by deed. Not just that, about a dozen homeowners, including Linda, have been unknowingly using his land for extensions and sheds. The room goes silent. Linda starts talking fast about minor boundary discrepancies. Omar says, still calm. It's not minor. The HOA collected dues for maintaining land it doesn't own. And you issued fines based on rules that don't apply to my parcel. Then he drops the kicker. Because the board had threatened a lien on false grounds, his lawyer, yes, already hired, was prepared to file for damages and reimbursement of every fine, plus legal fees, plus a state complaint. Linda looks like she's swallowed a wasp. Someone asks, wait, does that mean our sheds are on Omar's land? Omar nods and says, I'm not asking anyone to move anything. I just want the harassment to stop. The board voted that night to dissolve the garden violations and ordered a full boundary audit. Linda resigned 2 days later for personal reasons. Omar brought me a basket of cucumbers as a thank you for not being weird about it. Karma didn't just hit Linda, it redrew the whole neighborhood. Story 9. This one's from my aunt, but I was there so I can confirm every detail. We're a very normal family except for Uncle Ray, who is allergic to living within his means. Ray had just been laid off and was spiraling in that I deserve more way. He'd been ranting about systems and hustles and how everybody else was a sucker. One Saturday, he showed up to our family poker night with a grin so wide it should have required permits. He whispered to me, I bought a stack of scratch-offs and I'm going to accidentally leave a winner on Grandma's table. She'll scratch it, think she won, and split it with me because she's sweet. This will be easy. Yes, he planned to scam his own mother. He even had a little routine about, Mom, you should buy yourself something special. He was practically rehearsing. He forgot the tickets on her placemat and nudged her into scratching one after dinner. We all watched. Grandma, tiny and delighted, scratched away. She hits a win. Not huge, $5,000. Still a serious chunk of money for her. Uncle Ray practically vibrates with fake surprise. Oh my God, Ma, you won. See, I told you to play. Grandma laughs, tears up, hugs him. Ray leans in like, and now you'll share with your precious favorite son. Instead, Grandma says, well, that's settled. She shuffles into her room and comes back with a folder. She tells us she updated her will last month. She was waiting for a good moment to share. Turns out she'd been quietly selling a piece of land Grandpa left her. Proceeds were going into accounts for the grandkids' college funds and a donation to the local shelter. Then she looks at Ray and says, Raymond, I know you're struggling, but I also know about your borrowed credit cards and the rent you didn't pay for your ex. I'm not enabling that. Ray tries to interrupt. Grandma raises a hand. This scratch-off money? I'm adding it to the grandkids' fund. In your name so you can feel like you helped. I have never seen a grown man deflate so fast. He stammers. But, Mom, I mean, that's nice. Grandma squeezes his cheek like he's 8. Honey, you thought this was easy. But being family doesn't mean being fooled. The next day, she posted a photo with all of us holding the scholarship checks and wrote, Ray insisted we get educated. He didn't talk to anyone for weeks. Story 10. I work nights at a hotel front desk. If you want to see karma in real time, watch someone try to game a system with witnesses standing 5 feet away. We had a regular guest, Mr. Hollis, who always acted like he was doing us a favor by existing. He'd discovered a hack. Book the cheapest room online, then throw a tantrum to get upgraded for free. He bragged about it to anyone who'd listen. One Thursday, he rolls in, sees me, and says loudly to his buddy, watch this. I'll get a suite. This will be easy. He checks in, gets his standard king. He immediately starts the act. This room smells like mold. I'm allergic. I need a suite or you'll be liable. I do my calm script. I'm sorry, sir. I can send housekeeping up and move you to another king. Suites are sold out tonight. He scoffs. Sold out my ass. I'm a platinum member. Comp me a suite or I'll destroy your reviews. Here's the thing he didn't notice. Behind him in the lobby, in plain clothes, is our regional VP doing a surprise walkthrough. She's tiny, quiet, and looks like someone's aunt. He doesn't clock her at all. Mr. Hollis keeps escalating. He starts filming me with his phone, narrating for his followers about hotel scams, trying to bait me into a reaction. I stay polite. The VP steps forward and says, Sir, I'm the regional manager. Let's talk. He smiles like he just won. Great. Your staff is refusing service. VP says, You booked a king. Suites are sold out. But that's not why I'm stepping in. She points to a framed plaque on the wall. Member Code of Conduct, she says. Threatening staff, recording without consent, and coercion for free upgrades violate membership terms. He laughs. Actually laughs. And says, That's not real. Come on, be serious. This is easy customer retention. VP pulls out a tablet, taps twice, and says, I am serious. Your platinum status is revoked effective immediately. You can stay tonight in your king, or I can cancel and refund you. Your choice. His face went through all 5 stages of grief in 3 seconds. Buddy behind him whispers, Dude, shut up. Mr. Hollis tries scrambling. Wait, I didn't mean I'm a loyal guest. VP shrugs. Loyal guests don't bully 19-year-olds at midnight. Then she looks at me and says, You handled that perfectly. I'll make sure your manager knows. He stomped off to the elevator like a toddler in a suit. The emotional punch came later. I got an email the next morning. VP had not only reported the incident, she'd authorized me a bonus and asked if I wanted to apply for a supervisor opening. Mr. Hollis tried for a free suite. I got a promotion interview. Easy, huh? Story. 11. I'm an EMT, so I see a weird slice of human ambition. People trying to game life and then acting shocked when gravity participates. We get a call for a minor accident in a supermarket parking lot. When we roll up, there's this guy, early 30s, designer hoodie, no visible injuries, lying on the asphalt like he's auditioning for a courtroom drama. His SUV has a tiny dent on the bumper. A middle-aged woman in a Corolla is standing there trembling, saying she barely tapped him. Before I even kneel, he blurts, "Don't worry, I'm documenting everything. This will be easy." He keeps saying it like a spell. Easy claim, easy payout, easy neck brace selfie. He's filming on his phone while moaning about his spine. I ask him where it hurts. He says, loud enough for his followers, "Excruciating whiplash. I'm gonna need a settlement for this." No big deal. Ma'am tries apologizing, and he waves her off with this smug little smile. Insurance will handle it. People get paid for this all the time. I do my exam. His vitals are fine. I say we should still take him in to be safe. He agrees instantly, too fast, like he wants a hospital record more than care. Here's where the universe leaned in. A manager comes jogging out with a tablet. Excuse me?" she says to the guy. "We have parking lot cameras. I think you should see this." He scoffs without looking. "It's just proof she hit me." Easy. Manager plays the clip. It shows him backing into her parked Corolla while staring at his phone, then getting out, looking around, and, no joke, kicking his own bumper to make the dent bigger, then lying down. The woman gasps. I hear my partner whisper, "Oh man." The guy sits up so fast you'd think his whiplash cured itself out of shame. "That's edited." "That's not," manager says. "We don't edit our security footage, sir." She's already calling police. He tries to stand and slips on the gravel. Face plants hard enough that this time the blood is very real. Like instant nose river. We load him anyway because job is job. In the ambulance, he keeps muttering, "This wasn't supposed to happen. It was easy." Cop met us at the ER. When I handed over the report, he was in cuffs, holding a gauze pad to his nose, staring at the ceiling like he'd been betrayed personally by existence. Real injury, real fraud charge, and the smallest dent in a bumper turned into a life-size lesson. Story 12. I'm a park ranger at a desert reserve. Most days it's lost hikers and people who think rattlesnakes are cute if you squint. One afternoon I get a ping on the restricted area sensor. That area is closed because the hot springs there are unstable. Crust looks solid until it isn't. Then you're soup. We find a guy named Trevor in linen pants, a drone buzzing overhead, and a ring box on a rock. His girlfriend is standing behind him looking exhausted in the way only someone dating a human spotlight can look. Trevor sees us and grins. "Perfect timing," he says. "We're filming a proposal. Don't worry, this will be easy. We'll be out in 5 minutes." I tell him the area is closed and dangerous. He says, "Bro, I hike. I know geology. Plus I've got 200K followers waiting." He points at the drone like it's a permit. While I'm radioing for backup, he steps onto a pale, chalky patch near the water to get a hero shot. I literally shout, "Stop moving." He waves without turning. "Relax. Easy." The ground gives a little crack noise. Not loud. Just final. The crust collapses under one leg, and he drops thigh-deep into scalding mud. He screams so high it startled a hawk. We haul him out with ropes, skin red and blistering. Girlfriend is crying, but not the, "Oh my God, he's hurt" cry. More like the, "I cannot believe this is my life" cry. EMS takes him. I'm filling out incident stuff when the drone finally lands. I shut it off, bag it, because evidence. He's still trying to talk through pain, telling me, "Can we keep the footage? It'll go viral." People love rescue stuff. "Sir, you just triggered a restricted zone alarm and cost a helicopter standby. You are not getting your B-roll." Here's the twist. At the hospital, his girlfriend asked to speak to me privately. She said she'd begged him not to come in here, that he'd been promising an epic proposal for months, and she was tired of being a prop. She looked at his bandaged leg, then back at me and said, "Can you tell him I left? I don't want to be the villain in his edit." She walked out with the ring box still on the counter. Trevor posted later about a freak accident and haters, but the reserve's official account posted the safety clip with the caption, "Closed means closed." He wanted an easy, cinematic yes. Karma gave him a helicopter bill and a single, silent no. Story 13. I'm the junior dev at a tiny startup. Think 2 founders, 8 engineers, 1 office plant we keep forgetting to water. One founder, Nadia, was brilliant and kind. The other, Seth, was brilliant and allergic to patience. When a big company started sniffing around for an acquisition, Seth went full wolf of whatever. He told me one night while we were pushing a build, due diligence is a checkbox. I'll pad our user metrics for a month, show hockey stick growth, and they'll buy. This will be easy. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He spun up bot accounts. He juiced signups with spam ads. He even had us optimize onboarding in ways that were basically click farm friendly. Nadia fought him. He kept saying, everyone does it. Easy win. The acquiring company sent auditors. Seth strutted around doing founder guy charm. They asked for our internal comms documentation. Seth went pale for half a second, then smiled. Sure, no problem. What he didn't know, and neither did I until that week, is that Nadia had quietly enabled an auto-archive on our Slack months earlier after a different compliance scare. Everything, including DMs, got mirrored to a retention vault. Guess what was in the vault? Seth's messages to a contractor. Need 30K signups a week. Bots, okay. Keep it quiet. This will be easy. And a thread to me. If anyone asks, say it's organic. Don't be weird. The auditors didn't even confront him at first. They just asked Nadia for a meeting alone. After that, the tone changed. Seth got iced out of every call. The acquisition paused, then came back as a different offer. They wanted the product and the team, but not Seth. Seth exploded. Threatened lawsuits. Accused Nadia of betrayal. You sabotaged me, Nadia said, in the calmest voice I've ever heard. You sabotaged us. I just left a trail. The acquiring company ended up hiring Nadia as head of product and giving the rest of us offers with raises. Seth got bought out for basically pennies under a morality clause in our shareholder agreement. Another thing Nadia had insisted on. Last day in the office, Seth packed his stuff muttering, this was supposed to be easy money. Nadia waited until he left, then finally cried, quietly, in the kitchen, holding the sad office plant like a teddy bear. Karma didn't just block his shortcut. It handed all of us a new life without him in it. Story 14. I sing in my small-town church choir. I'm not especially holy, but I can hit a high A and I like casseroles, so I'm basically clergy. Our treasurer, Mrs. Pruitt, ran every fundraiser like a general. She was also weirdly obsessed with being seen as the pillar. When we started a big donation drive for a new community pantry, she kept telling people, we'll smash the goal. I'll handle the money. This will be easy. We upgraded to QR code giving. Folks could scan and donate on their phones, and the totals were supposed to auto-display on a screen each Sunday. Mrs. Pruitt insisted only she would reconcile numbers manually for accuracy. 3 weeks in, donations felt off. The pantry boxes were half full, but the Sunday totals were strangely low. People grumbled. Mrs. Pruitt got snippy about budget reality. Then our youth group leader, a 17-year-old named Tasha, who is smarter than half the adults I know, asked if she could review the QR system for a school volunteer project. Mrs. Pruitt waved her away. Honey, finances are complicated. This is easy for me. Next Sunday, Tasha brought her laptop anyway and quietly sat in the back. Mid-service, right as the pastor is talking about generosity, the donation screen flickers and jumps from $3,200 to $11,450. Everyone gasps. Mrs. Pruitt stands up fast enough to rattle the pew. That's wrong, she yells. System glitch. Tasha walks to the front, voice shaking but steady. It's not a glitch. She projects the admin dashboard. Every QR donation had been going into the church account, but the manual totals misses. Pruitt reported were lower by exact, repeated chunks. Like clockwork skimming. You could hear people breathing. The pastor looked like he'd swallowed a hymn book. Mrs. Pruitt turned paper white and tried to say she was holding money aside for supplies. Pastor said, quiet and wrecked. Then why were there cash withdrawals on the same days? She started crying. Her husband, who is also the pastor's best friend, stood up and just walked out without looking at her. She resigned that afternoon. The church voted to do an outside audit. The pantry goal got met in one angry week of makeup donations. The emotional punch hit later. Mrs. Pruitt's daughter, who I'd known since she was a toddler, came to choir practice and said, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm still here if you'll have me. We made room for her. We didn't make room for her mother. Mrs. Pruitt thought skimming from kindness would be easy. Karma made it public, in the very moment she tried to preach control. Story 15. I'm the roommate. Which means I know too much and get blamed for existing within earshot. My roommate Jess had been dating this guy, Riley, who was sweet but a bit oblivious. She'd been spiraling into TikTok brain paranoia. Every other video was like, here's how to catch a cheater. One night she told me, I'm gonna make a fake profile and see if Riley bites. If he's loyal, great. If not, I dump him. This will be easy. I said, please don't invite chaos into the apartment. She winked and did it anyway. She used photos of some random Instagram model, made a burner account, and set the location to our city. Within an hour, she's squealing. He matched. Oh my God. She starts typing flirty bait messages with the glee of someone lighting fireworks indoors. Riley responds politely, kind of confused, but he's there. Jess is pacing like a detective in a movie. Got him. Easy. I knew it. Then her phone buzzes again. She looks down and freezes. Wait, she says. I matched with someone else. She shows me the screen. The new match is named D. His bio is a dumb joke about mountain biking. His photos are cropped weirdly, but one has a familiar tattoo on the wrist. It takes her 5 seconds to realize. D is her husband. Like, legal husband. Technically separated, but still living in another apartment across town while they figured things out. She'd been telling everyone he was working on himself, going to therapy, wanting to reconcile. Jess whispers, No, no, no. She messages him from the fake profile. Hey. He replies instantly. Hey, gorgeous. You free tonight? My place. Jess starts shaking. I've never seen her cry so fast. She scrolls and finds their old texts. Him saying he missed her. Him saying he wasn't dating anyone. Him calling her the love of my life. She calls him. He answers cheerful. Hey, babe, she says, voice like glass. Why did you just invite a random girl to your place? Silence. Then, Jess, what are you talking about? She reads his exact DM back to him. He tries to stammer about spam accounts, and I didn't mean it. Jess hangs up, sits on the kitchen floor, and laughs once. This tiny, broken sound. I made a trap for Riley, she says. And it caught the man I was still hoping for. She didn't even confront Riley after that. She just texted him, I'm sorry I doubted you. I have bigger things to clean up. The next morning, she filed divorce papers. Her plan was to prove cheating would be easy to spot. Karma said, Sure, just not where you're looking. Story 16. I wait tables at a little tapas place that's fancy enough to make people feel important, but small enough that everyone hears your dumb decisions. Friday nights are basically a reality show with paella. This guy comes in with a date, slick hair, loud laugh, the whole I'm performing being rich vibe. He asks for the pricier wine by name like he's reciting a spell. They order half the menu. He keeps leaning back and whispering to her, Don't worry about it, I got you. This will be easy. I'm thinking, buddy, easy for who? By dessert, he's on his 4th drink and telling her about a loophole he uses at restaurants. He says it loud enough that I catch, you just dip when they're busy, that's it. She looks kind of uncomfortable. He laughs. Relax, I do this all the time. This will be easy. They ask for the check. I drop it. He squints, goes pale for half a second, then tries to play it off like a joke. Whoa, that's more than I expected. Babe, I'm gonna step outside and call my bank. Card's acting up. We've heard that line. I watch him walk out with the phone to his ear, and then start fast walking toward the corner. Except he didn't notice the patio. On the patio are 2 off-duty cops in plain clothes eating churros. They're regulars. One looks up and goes, Is that the guy who just told us he dines and dashes? Because yeah, he'd bragged so loudly at the bar earlier that they heard him. I follow at a distance because it's my Friday and I want a front row seat. He cuts the corner, sees the cop standing there, and does that cartoon stop where your soul hits the brakes before your body does. He tries to pivot back into the restaurant like he forgot his dignity inside. Cops are calm, not even mean. Sir, come with us a second. His date comes out behind me, eyes wide. He starts stammering that he was just taking a call and was about to pay. Then she says, clear as a bell, No, you weren't. You told me you were leaving me here with the bill so you could feel clever. He snaps at her. Why would you say that? She looks tired in a way I felt in my bones and goes, Because my ex used to do this. I promised myself never again. She walked back in, asked me to split the check, and paid her half plus a tip that made me want to adopt her. The cops escorted him to his car to sort it out. On her way out, she said, Thanks for being kind. I'm sorry he thought this would be easy. I watched him sit in his driver's seat, head in his hands, while she got into an Uber smiling like someone who just stepped out of a bad timeline. Story 17. I'm the DM for our weekly D&D group, which means I'm half storyteller, half therapist, half cat herder. Yes, that's 3 halves. We had a player named Vince who treated every session like a competition he needed to win against the rest of us. He'd been salty for months that our rogue, May, found a rare collectible card at a con. Not game-related, just a real-world, holy crap you found one kind of thing. Vince kept joking about borrowing it permanently. Then last weekend he showed up early while I was setting up minis and said, May always leaves her bag by the couch. I'm gonna slip the card out, sell it online, and act surprised when she can't find it. This will be easy. I laughed because I thought he was doing a villain bit. He wasn't. Session starts. Halfway through a combat, May looks over and goes, "Hey, my binder's open." She checks, face draining. The card's gone. Vince immediately does the fake concern routine. "No way. That sucks. Maybe you dropped it?" He's almost glowing with how clever he thinks he is. May doesn't argue. She just nods, quiet. We finish the session awkwardly. After everyone leaves, I'm sweeping up stray dice when May texts me. "Can you check the couch cushions? Also, did you see anyone near my bag?" I felt sick. So I watched our living room camera. I have one because I work nights and my landlord thinks the hallway is optional. There's Vince, 10 minutes before game, casually opening her binder and palming the card like he's done it 100 times. I sent May the clip. She didn't respond for a while. Then, "Thanks. Don't say anything yet." Next week, she shows up with a smile too polite to be real. "Vince," she says, "I found something weird online." She hands him her phone. It's an eBay listing. Rare card. Local pickup only. Because Vince is arrogant. He listed it under his own city, under his own seller handle, the same handle he uses in our group chat for memes. He blinks at the screen. "Oh, wow, that is weird." May says, "Yeah, I bid on it. Want to come with me to pick it up?" He laughs nervously. Sure?" She turns the phone around. The top bidder name is Officer Patel, City PD. Turns out May's sister is a detective who collects cards. She'd already messaged the seller and arranged a pickup. Vince tried to backpedal so hard I thought he'd fall through the floor. Okay, I was gonna give it back. It was a joke." May didn't yell. She just said, "You thought stealing from your friends would be easy. Now you get to explain it to someone with a badge." He left the group that night. May stayed. The next session, she played her rogue like a woman who had finally stopped rolling for trust. Story 18. I'm an apprentice electrician on a big commercial site. I mostly keep my mouth shut and do what I'm told, because learning a trade is like learning to swim in a blender. Our foreman, Cal, was obsessed with speed. He'd call safety checks theater and inspections paper cosplay. We had a high-voltage panel scheduled for final inspection before we could energize it. Cal rolls his eyes and says, "We're behind. We'll just tidy the cover, sign the checklist ourselves, and power up tonight. Inspector won't come till Monday. This will be easy." I knew it was wrong, but I'm new and he's the guy who decides if you eat. We do the rush job. I'm tightening lugs when I notice one feeder run looks off. Wrong gauge for the load. I mention it. Cal snaps, "It's fine. Don't slow us down." At 5:10 p.m., we're about to flip the main. Cal's hand is literally on the breaker when a voice from behind says, "Evening." It's the inspector. On a Friday, with a hard hat and a tablet in his hand. Cal smiles like a hostage. "Oh hey, didn't expect you. We were just..." Inspector looks up at the panel. "You were about to energize without a green tag." Cal tries to charm his way out. "We did all the work. Easy pass. Just wanted to save you time." Inspector doesn't argue. He taps the tablet. "I'm here early because your site triggered a scheduling anomaly." We all blink. He points at the security camera above the door. "Your badge logged into the inspection portal 2 hours ago and uploaded a signed checklist." Cal had forged the digital sign-off using a supervisor login he'd stolen. The system auto-flagged it to the inspector's phone. Inspector asks me to open the panel and walk him through. My hands were shaking, but I showed him the feeder I'd worried about. He nods. "Good catch." Then he turns to Cal, dead calm. "You falsified an inspection, pressured an apprentice to energize unsafe equipment, and used unauthorized credentials. Site is shut down until a re-inspection. Report goes to the state board." Cal starts sputtering about deadlines and "no harm intended." Inspector cuts him off with, "Intent doesn't keep people alive." Monday morning, Cal was gone. Not transferred. Fired, blacklisted, and apparently under investigation. The GC pulled me aside later and said, "You spoke up. That's what we need." He bumped me to full journeyman track 3 months early. Cal thought skipping safety would be easy. Karma made him meet the inspector in the exact second his shortcut would have lit the building on fire. Story 19. I was the granddaughter at the wake, the one assigned to hand out programs and pretend I wasn't breaking. You know the drill. Soft music, too many casseroles, people saying she's in a better place like it's a password. My grandma had 4 children. 3 were grieving. 1, my Aunt Celine, was scheming. Celine has always treated family like a board game she's trying to win the longest route on. Before the service, she cornered me in the kitchen and said, "I'm going to read a eulogy about how I sacrificed the most for Mom. She'll want to honor that. It'll nudge Dad to finally adjust the will. This will be easy." I stared at her. At her funeral? She patted my arm like I was slow. It's called timing. During the service, Celine floats up to the podium with tissues already staged. She launches into this performance about being the only one who really showed up, about all the money she poured into mom's care, about how some siblings disappeared when it got hard. She's glancing at Grandpa like a spotlight. I'm sitting there furious grieving, which is a truly unhinged emotion. Then the pastor steps forward and says, "Before we close, your mother left something to share." He rolls in a little TV on a cart. Grandpa looks surprised. Celine looks confused, then alarmed. Video starts. It's Grandma, recorded maybe a month before she died. She's in her armchair, hair brushed, eyes sharp. She says, "If you're watching this, I'm gone. I love you, but I'm going to be plain." She looks right into the camera and says, "Celine, stop treating grief like leverage. I know you've been asking your father to change the will. I know you've been telling people you paid my bills. You didn't. I did, from my own savings. The receipts are in the folder labeled Truth." The room went so still I could hear the AC. Grandma keeps going, gently, not cruel. She thanks the siblings who took turns, names the grandkids who visited, says who she wants to inherit what. She even jokes about her favorite spatula. Then she finishes with, "I'm not leaving more to the loudest voice. I'm leaving to the kindest hands." Pastor clicks off the TV. Grandpa is crying in that quiet, ancient way. Celine is sitting rigid like someone turned her into a coat rack. After the service, Grandpa asked the family to stay. He handed each of us an envelope. Inside mine was a note from Grandma. "Don't let anyone rewrite love." Celine didn't get one. She left early without saying goodbye. Her plan to guilt-edit the will? Grandma edited her right back from beyond the curtain. Story 20. I rent a studio above a bakery. My landlord, Phil, is the kind of guy who calls himself an entrepreneur because he owns 3 cordless drills. One day he shows up in a blazer over a hoodie and says, "Good news. I'm modernizing the building. I'm going to Airbnb your unit for weekends. You can crash at your sister's those nights. I'll knock $50 off rent. This will be easy passive income for both of us." I said no. Laughed and said no. He got icy. "You don't understand how value works." Next week, I start noticing strangers in the hallway. Suitcases. Confused looks. Someone knocked on my door at 1 a.m., asking for the key code. Phil had already listed my apartment while I lived in it as a cozy city loft. I took screenshots and called the tenant rights hotline. They told me he couldn't do that without my consent, and that I should document everything. Phil texted me smugly, "Relax. Nobody enforces that stuff." He actually wrote, "This will be easy. Don't make trouble." So I made trouble. I posted a calm thread on a local community page with receipts, the listing, the knock-on-door incidents, the text messages. I didn't even tag him. I just asked if other tenants had experienced this. Within an hour, the comments exploded. Turns out Phil had tried it in 2 other units too. One commenter was a travel blogger who'd stayed in Phil's building the previous month and had photos of a unit that was clearly occupied, my plants in the background. She shared them. Another commenter worked for the city's housing department and said, "Please DM me." 2 days later, a building inspector showed up. Phil tried to charm him. Inspector didn't smile. He cited Phil for illegal short-term rentals, fire code violations, and failure to provide proper notice. Fine total was large enough that Phil's blazer looked smaller. Then the state sent a letter about unpaid occupancy taxes from his easy passive income. Apparently, when you advertise your tenants' homes online, the algorithm snitches faster than people do. Here's the punch. The bakery owner downstairs, who has hated Phil for years, saw the chaos and quietly offered to buy the building. With help from 3 tenants and a small co-op loan, we did a joint purchase. Phil lost the building in 6 months. The day we signed, I walked upstairs past the old Airbnb lockbox he'd installed. It was still there, useless, like a little shrine to arrogance. Phil thought displacing us would be easy. Karma turned his passive income into a very active eviction from his own property.